Are you sure you didn't take the money? My husband asked when his mother accused me of stealing. Even after she took control of our apartment, he simply said, "It's hers. It's her right." I remember the first time I met Valerie, my future husband's mother. Tall, with a piercing gaze and lips constantly pressed into a thin line. She did not even bother to hide her disappointment. "You study to be a teacher? Interesting. And what are you going to feed your family with?" At that moment, I thought I was just exaggerating. She was tired, a tired woman who had gone through a divorce, raised her son alone. Who was I to judge? But that first chill under my skin remained, and then it started to return more and more often. The first months of my marriage, I tried to ignore the barbs disguised as care. "Darling, why are you cooking buckwheat for my Alex for dinner?" "He has a weak stomach," Valerie would say, taking out a roasted chicken from her bag and placing it triumphantly on the table. Alex did not object. He rarely objected to his mother at all. I tried to be patient. I grew up without a mother, living with my grandmother, so I wanted a family at any cost. I wanted to be a good wife, a good daughter-in-law, a woman people are drawn to, a woman who is valued, even if it meant smiling when everything inside was boiling. It became especially difficult when Valerie insisted on moving into our apartment to save money while we were paying the mortgage. "And I will be quiet, you will not even hear me, I will be like a mouse." A mouse, yes, but not the kind that sits quietly in a corner. This mouse sniffed every inch of our lives, from our daily routine to our financial decisions. One quiet Wednesday, I came home a little early and found my mother-in-law in our bedroom. She was not embarrassed. "I was dusting. And you should take better care of the bed. The hair is not mine." In the evening, Alex, after listening to my story, just shrugged his shoulders. "She is helping. You are being picky for no reason." From that moment on, I started keeping a mental diary where I recorded every injustice, every word, every scene. At first, everything seemed trivial, unpleasant, but bearable. Valerie might accidentally oversalt my food, saying, "Well, Alex likes it salter." She might buy curtains without my knowledge and hang them up. The old fabric was already dusty. "You do not mind, do you?" She might arrange a chance meeting with Alex's ex-girlfriend. "Oh, I just saw her at the store. A lovely girl. She misses Alex so much." I endured it. I believed that love should conquer all, that one day my husband would understand, would take my side. But reality turned out to be more complicated. Alex seemed to live in two worlds, and every time they collided, he chose the one his mother lived in. The turning point was the story with the money. One day, Valerie announced that a large sum of money had disappeared from our joint family safe, where we kept our savings for vacation. I did not want to say anything, but I checked, and it is missing. And no one else but you has access to it. Her voice was calm, almost affectionate. And then, as if by chance, maybe you needed something urgently? You just did not say. I felt something tighten in my chest. No, I had not taken it. Never, not a single penny. I did not even know where the key was. But Alex looked at me with an expression I had never seen on his face before, distrust. "Are you sure you did not take it?" he asked, not looking me in the eye. I did not cry. I just clenched my teeth and silently walked out of the room. This was the beginning of the end. But not my end. And I did not know it yet. After the accusation of theft, something inside me broke. Not shattered, but broke, like a bone that later heals, but in a different shape. I sat in the kitchen, clutching a cup of cold tea, and stared at a spot on the wall. My mind was blank. There was only a dull feeling, as if I had been pushed out of my own home, but without a scandal, without hysterics, silently, with pointed politeness. Alex did not speak to me for the rest of the day. Valerie moved around the apartment quietly, like a shadow, but her presence was felt in every object. Her ficus plants on the windowsill, her towels in the bathroom, and the scent of her perfume in the hallway. The house was no longer ours, it was theirs, Alex's. Now it was hers, and I had become a tenant. The next morning, everything looked as usual. My mother-in-law was making breakfast. Alex was reading the news on his tablet. Only I knew that this usual would never be the same again. They no longer asked me about my plans, did not discuss finances, were not interested in my opinion. I had become a piece of furniture, convenient as long as I was silent. When I suggested calling a specialist to check the safe for fingerprints, Valerie theatrically threw up her hands. Good heavens, Anna, do you think I am going to drag you to the police? My family is more important to me. Just be honest. Admit it if you took it. I did not take it. Every word was a nail driven into the silence. But this silence swallowed them without an echo. Alex only said, let's just forget it. I do not want a scandal. He did not want a scandal. He never wanted scandals, even if it meant sacrificing his wife. At work, I caught myself smiling automatically. My colleagues noticed nothing. I was always calm and friendly. Only once, my boss kept me after a meeting and, after a pause, asked, "Is everything okay, Anna? You seem a bit not here." I nodded. I could not tell her that I lived in a house where every morning began with sidelong glances and every action was watched by someone else's eyes. Where my mother-in-law would go into our room when I was not there, checking my things, my laundry, my medicine cabinet. I was just looking for an aspirin. I have a migraine, she would say, and Alex would agree. Why are you getting worked up? She did not mean it. But one day I found a note on my nightstand, irritably torn from a notepad with scribbled notes. It was a shopping list: laundry detergent, cotton pads, stomach drops, hand cream. Mine. Why was this necessary? A check, control, a reminder that even my things were not mine. That evening, I did not say a word. I just went to bed, turned to the wall, and listened to Alex talking quietly with his mother in the kitchen. They were laughing, talking about a TV show, some neighbor, the weather. My name was not mentioned. 2 weeks passed since the money disappeared. And then, a new story. Valerie, with a tragic face, showed me a pillowcase burned by an iron. I did not want to say anything, but this is the second set of linens this month. You probably just do not know how to use the steam setting. You are not a housewife, Anna. But that is okay, you will learn in time. Alex just smirked. And at that moment, I understood for the first time, he is not naive, he is just weak. He knows his mother is overstepping, but it is easier for him this way. He does not want to choose, which means he has already chosen. And then, the first clear, terrifying, but liberating feeling was born in me. They do not need me. But I will not let them make a shadow of me anymore. I started getting up earlier, getting ready faster, coming home a little later. Valerie started to get nervous. Where were you? What are these strange calls? Why do you come home without any bags? Did you not buy anything? I answered briefly, evenly. My words became like stone. Valerie got worried. She felt the control slipping away. And when control is lost, an attack begins. And it came quickly. The argument erupted like a storm, without warning. I saw you taking documents from Alex's drawer. What were you looking for? Anna, maybe you were hiding something else. My mother-in-law's voice vibrated with tension. I was looking for the water bill, because no one but me has paid it for 3 months, I answered coldly. Do not you dare speak to me in that tone, girl. As long as you live in this house, you must behave yourself. This is not your house. It is ours. Or is it just yours now? Alex stood nearby, like a ghost, silent. And then I understood. He would not stand up for me. He would not say, "Enough, Mom." It was convenient for him this way. And, for the first time in my life, I felt that I did not want to save our marriage. I did not want to earn love. I wanted only one thing: to get myself back. The next morning, the house was quiet, muffled. Even the kettle boiled somehow silently. I watched the water drip from the faucet and felt a hum growing inside me. It was not despair, no. It was the rumble before a storm when everything is still, but it is already clear that something is approaching, something inevitable. Valerie had gone to a neighbor's in the morning. to help with shopping. You do not mind, Anna, do you? I am not leaving you, I am on an errand. Alex said, Mom is just worried. You could try to be a little softer with her. You know she has a difficult character. And what about me? I do not have one? Or is it only her who has a character, and I have the duty to understand and tolerate? I did not raise my voice, but every word was like sandpaper. Alex fell silent. He was not used to this version of me, collected, dry, with a clear and heavy gaze. He was used to the soft, convenient me. Listen, I just do not want any scandals, he mumbled. I did not answer, just smiled with such calmness that it made him uneasy. That same day, I started doing what I had been afraid of before. I talked. First to a friend I had never complained to, then to my boss. Calmly, without hysterics. I think I am living in emotional isolation. And I do not want to stay in it anymore. The words came out with difficulty. I had been swallowing them for too long. But now every sentence spoken was like a blow to the glass cage I had put myself in. Valerie sensed it immediately. I no longer played her games, did not make excuses, did not explain myself. To her next phrase, Alex does not like it when you come home late. I replied, Alex is a grown man. If he does not like it, let him say so himself. You are turning into a strange woman, Anna, my mother-in-law hissed. I was always a stranger to you. I just do not pretend to like it anymore. It was a war. Cold, bloodless, but merciless. My mother-in-law started tightening the screws. She put her things everywhere, made her own rules. Alex was silent, pretending that nothing was happening. He started spending less time at home. Sometimes work, sometimes the gym. And I just silently watched him go, and the feeling of betrayal grew inside me. But one day, Valerie made a move that was fatal. She brought home notarized papers. I have made a gift deed. The apartment is now completely mine. Officially, to avoid any misunderstandings. I took the papers and read them carefully. And without saying a word, I neatly placed them on the kitchen table. Later, I went into the room where Alex was sitting. Did you know? She has the right. It is her apartment, he answered without looking up. But we live here. We are a family. Anna, I do not want to get involved in this. You are both adults. Decide for yourselves. Decide for yourselves. That was the outcome of all our conversations, all our evenings, all our kisses, all our love. He had absolved himself of responsibility. He had chosen neutrality, which in this situation was nothing more than capitulation. That night, I barely slept. But in the morning, I came out to the kitchen in a good mood. I made coffee, even offered Valerie a toast with honey. She looked at me suspiciously but took it. I sat down opposite her and for the first time in a long time, looked at her attentively. You know, Valerie, you have won. You managed to take everything, your son, the house, even my silence. But what is strange is that you are still unhappy. You are still angry. Why? My mother-in-law froze, put down her toast. Because you are a liar. You pretend. You bottle things up, and then you complain that no one hears you. I am just honest. I speak directly. And you are a slippery woman with nothing of your own. No home, no influence, no opinion. I nodded. Perhaps you are right. But you know what? I do not want to be one of you here anymore. Not in this house, not by these rules. With these words, I stood up, went to the drawer, and took out a box of documents I had been secretly collecting for a month. Statements, contracts, personal belongings. I have filed for divorce, silence. And I will not return to this play. You will have no one to gnaw at. And you know what is most interesting? I feel calm, because I am leaving with dignity. And you will be left with yourself. Alex appeared in the doorway a minute later. He had heard everything. His eyes were red. He tried to say something, but I silently walked out of the room, closing the door behind me. It was not a victory. It was a liberating loss. And I accepted it. The move was easier than I had expected. I packed my things in 2 days, not because I had few, but because I left everything unnecessary behind. I left it in that apartment with its silence, stretched taut like a rusty wire, with someone else's hands on my towels, with constantly closed doors. I rented a room from an old university professor, a modest one in an old building with shabby furniture and a view of the road. But it smelled of freedom. The kind of freedom that at first frightens you to the core, but then opens your breath. No one called. Not Alex, not his mother. The divorce was processed almost formally. There was no joint property, no children either. The papers were signed without meetings, through lawyers. The first week, I could not stop looking over my shoulder. The habit of asking for permission, of justifying myself, of checking, am I sitting right? Did I put the cup down right? All of this went away slowly, as if someone else's skin was being peeled off. Sometimes, waking up at 5 in the morning, I would catch myself thinking, what if I was wrong after all? What if I should have been softer, endured it, built a bridge? But every time, this was followed by another, even clearer thought. I tried. For a long time, I was patient, I explained, I smoothed things over, but in response, there was only an all-consuming, inky void. I was not there. At work, everything went smoothly, even better. My boss entrusted me with an important project. My colleagues started inviting me to lunch. And no one looked at me like an enemy in my own home. 3 weeks later, I received an unexpected message. We need to talk. Alex. At first, I wanted to ignore it, but then I agreed. We met at a cafe near his office. He came with the eyes of a man who does not sleep at night. Not because he is thinking, but because he cannot understand how it all happened. Anna, I do not want to lose you. Mom, she is just. But you know, she has a difficult character. I know. And that is exactly why I left. He leaned back, ran a hand through his hair. I thought you would fight for us. I did fight. For a year. For us, for myself, for the right to be heard. I got tired, cried at night, erased her words from my head, convinced myself that you loved me. But at one point, I realized, you are not fighting, you are waiting for me to endure everything. He fell silent. And he did not know what to say, because it was all true. And he knew it, he just did not want to admit it. I miss you, he finally said. I miss us. I looked at him for a long time. And in my gaze, there was no contempt, no resentment, but something even more terrifying, forgiveness without the desire to return. And I miss myself. The one you did not see. But I am finding her again. And I will not give her back. He wanted to say something else, but he realized this was the end. Not an explosion, not a drama, not a scream, but a quiet, cold closing of a door. 2 days later, Valerie called me. I did not want to. I just wanted what was best. You know, I raised Alex on my own. And you took my son away from me. No, I interrupted her. I did not take him away. I asked him to divide himself between 2 women, like a grown man. But he chose to be a child. That was his choice, not mine. I did not want it to turn out this way. And I did not want you to humiliate me, to accuse me of theft, to go through my things. But you know, I am grateful to you. You taught me to defend myself. You just realized too late that I had learned. You will regret it, Anna. Not anymore. And you. Pause. Do not call me again. And she hung up. For the first time in my life, I did it easily, without guilt, without trembling, without the desire to be good. Another 2 weeks passed. And suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Alex stood on the threshold with his things. I cannot take it anymore. I told my mom she moved in with her sister. I decided to choose you. Let's start over. I looked at him, at his pale face, at his hands tightly gripping the handle of his suitcase. At the man who had finally made a choice. But the choice was too late. I have already chosen myself. And quietly, without anger, without theatrics, I closed the door in his face. A month passed. Life did not become brighter. There were no miraculous meetings, no sudden love, or booming success. I still lived in my room, drank tea on the windowsill. Sometimes I cried at night. But these were different tears now, not the ones that flowed from helplessness. These were tears of cleansing, of farewell, of inner liberation. I had changed. I spoke slowly, looked directly, answered immediately, without the habit of thinking about how not to offend anyone. And this new face scared those who knew the old me. My mother-in-law, it seemed, still could not grasp that she had lost. Strange rumors reached me from mutual acquaintances. Valerie said you left because you were with someone. She thinks you dragged Alex into a cult. She is sure you wanted the apartment. I listened to all of this with quiet indifference, because I knew, when a person loses control, they cling to any lie just to avoid admitting one thing: their power is gone. Alex still tried to write. At first every day, then once a week. The letters became longer, more wordy, with attempts to rethink, with apologies. But in each one, between the lines, it was still there: I did not know you would change so much. As if everything I had gained was a mistake, unnatural, temporary. One day he wrote, "I look at you and I do not recognize you. You have become different, Anna. Cold, not the one I loved." I replied briefly, "I have finally become myself. And you loved my submissiveness." He did not reply. One morning in early March, I was walking to work. It was overcast. The streets were covered with dirty snow, wet footprints, puddles. But for the first time in a long time, I felt spring inside. Not in the air, but in myself. Passing by our old house, I did not turn, although my heart twitched. From the first floor window, Valerie was looking out. We met eyes, and my mother-in-law looked away. There it was, the moment of true defeat. Not a scandal, not a scene, not humiliation, but a gaze you cannot hold because it is a mirror. And in that mirror, your emptiness. Alex, as acquaintances told me, had moved back in with his mother. Everything was as it used to be. But in that used to be, the main thing was missing: the illusion that they could break someone and still be the victors. They had lost more than they thought. I did not seek revenge, I did not gloat. I just moved on. Over time, my face became different, sharp, with clear lines of confidence. I laughed, not loudly, but genuinely. I stopped being afraid of conflicts because I understood there is nothing worse than a silent inner war. And the scariest thing is not to lose someone, but to lose yourself for the sake of those who do not even hear you. The end of our family was not a tragedy. It was an inevitable liberation. And the end of the story was not happy. It was honest. I did not go back. Alex stayed with his mother. Valerie stopped getting up early. Now she had no one to whisper reproaches to. She no longer had an enemy, and so she was left alone with her victory, which turned out to be a complete capitulation. I did not look for new love, did not look for a replacement. I needed time. Not for a new life, but for the old one to grow back. Without fear, without lies, without other people's voices in my head. In the end, I sat by the window, now in my own apartment, which I had rented myself, without anyone's help, and wrote the first letter to myself. Without tears, without pain, with respect. You stood firm. You were silent for too long. But then you spoke. And every step you take is not an escape. It is a return to yourself. And that is where my victory lies.